Greetings, welcome back to a new custom order video. The thing that got the most votes in the poll for what video content you guys want to see. So this time it was a tray, one of those so-called Valet trays. Some people call it a catch-all, and there's probably other names for it. But it's a nice project because the concept is simple, but the execution is not always so simple. So I'm starting off with some moderately thick leather. This is like 8 ounce on average. It's like 7 to 9, you know. And I'm making an 18-inch by 12-inch starting panel for the tray. So it's a pretty big tray that we're doing here. And I'm using the square, and I'm going to be doing what is now popularized as the bump jig method. But really it's just cutting a square corner using a square and another ruler. And luckily I have, from my guitar building tool set and skill set, I have the long straight edge ruler that I'm using there, which comes in handy for these jobs where you need a really long straight line. It's also good if you want to cut like a belt or something and you don't have a strap cutter or the edge of the leather panel's not straight. But anyway, so with this project, it's a nice custom color. It's like a brown, and you'll see that later. The other thing I want to say is with this video, it's going to be minimally edited because I wanted to see what you guys think of that. I usually cut the parts out so that you get the general idea, but this time I'm going to show pretty much everything except for when I take a break or something like, well, I'm actually showing you a break right here, having some cheese. I recommend cheese as a snack, it's good stuff. But I just left that in there for the humor. Okay, so we're going to start with the dyeing process since the cutting is all done. And I'm going to be mixing up some stuff here. First of all, dark brown mixed with dye reducer. I'm going to do multiple dye coats. Since it's so big, you kind of want to do multiple lighter coats so that you can more evenly distribute the color. So this is just, you can use alcohol instead of dye reducer if you want, but I got dye reducer, so might as well use it. So that's the dark brown pro dye from Phoebings, and that's the reducer. It says it works with pro dye, so I believe them. It's their own product. And I was using some napkins there to not make a mess, because when you're pouring dyes out of a bottle, you're going to want to clean the bottles. Trust me. Okay, so this leather piece you can see is pretty nice. It's got like some fat grain or fat lines, and it's kind of, you can see it's kind of sheening already. So it's got a very smooth surface. It's like, I guess, A grade, you know what I mean? And I have dauber here. It'd be nice to use like a sponge or something bigger, but this is what I got in stock for my tools, and so that's what I'm using. And for the first coat, I'm not too concerned about the color dispersion or the even distribution of the color. It's just got to get on there and make sure everything's coated with it. The evenness will come more so with the next coats because it's all going to bleed into each other fairly well. You'll see it doesn't do a perfect job, but it's pretty close. So don't be concerned if it looks all blotchy right now. Everything's going to be okay. If you're watching this and you're this far in the video, please like and subscribe if you can. So this is still the first coat, and the dye being mixed down, the dark brown, it turns it into a fairly light brown. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to mix in some different color for the next coats. So you'll see that soon here. And there we go, it's pretty coated, and I'm just going to finish off what I got in the cup there, the mixing cup. Because why not? It's not a big deal. Might as well use it while you got it instead of throwing it out. Just random strokes. If you're making a tray, it is nice to use the thicker leather because it's just going to offer more stability and durability over the years. Thinner leathers might start bending more over time or get a little floppier. This thick stuff should hold up pretty nice. The other thing about this is there is going to be laser engraving. We recently got a laser machine in our store, and it's proven to be quite a useful instrument. You can do a lot with that thing. You can even cut out leather stuff completely with it. We haven't tested that yet, but I've seen it done. I'm preparing to do that, see how that goes. And for sure the engraving is really nice because you can get really precise pictures on leather, and you can, if you're good with computers, you can basically do almost anything. The only issue with it is obviously it burns it, so the burnt color is like black. So if you're doing dark colored leathers, it makes it harder for it to show up. This leather was fairly dark, but I kept it light enough where you could see it. And also if you do the dyeing first and then the laser after, then it shows up better as well. So this is the second and third coat here, and it's really sped up. I think I put this at like 5,000%. And this time the technique's a little different. It's like I'm first covering it very well with this new color, and I added English bridal to the dye mixture this time. To give it a nice different color depth, so it's brown and bridal mixed. And so there I'm doing circles, and the circles are good because it helps prevent too much of like the streakiness. And this is a time lapse, which is really cool. This is about like 30 minutes or 45 minutes of drying time sped up like, I don't know, 10,000%. So you can see it dry off there, and it's not perfectly even the color, but you know, that's one of the features of hand dyeing, is that it's not going to be perfect. So that can be a selling point. That's all I'm going to say. Instead of using, one of those like Wickett Craig leathers, which are already colored, already finished, there's something special about hand dyeing. So, as usual for me, we're putting on that leather balm with Atom Wax, and I'm just doing a gentle amount and trying to keep it pretty even with such a big piece. And I don't have the right paper towels right now. It's kind of hard to get it perfect. But anyway, I'll speed this up a bit. Just getting a nice coat everywhere. And then we will move on to the buffing. Now this part's actually not sped up. If you guys practice hard enough, you can get to this speed. I'm also a very fast dodgeball thrower. Yeah, the local community is angry sometimes when I play. But all in all, that looks pretty good. It's a nice glossy little wax piece. So now we're at the laser stuff, and that design there is something that I designed on a computer, and I'm just checking my laser's position, and the customer asked for bottom left, or like in the corner is where this design should go. So there the laser goes. It makes that weird computer noise that like hard drives used to make all the time. And it's really cool, man. It's just like you program an image into it and it just will draw it perfectly, as long as you get the settings right. But the settings are not too complicated once you figure them out. You just need to do a little testing. But there it goes. It's burning that image in, which is a heart with the words inside. The laser comes with these laser goggles, which are kind of funny, sci-fi stuff. And there you can see the image starting to appear. And it smells bad when this is going on because you're burning leather. But afterwards you get this nice result. There it is. So that's the corner of the tray. Once that was done, we will now move back on to the leatherworks. So starting off here with some edging. I'm going to edge all the way around all the corners. With the craft tool number 2 edger, which I think is a little bit thicker than most number 2s out there. I'm not really sure of the size, but it's pretty big. I usually use this one for belts and stuff, and leather that's this thick, because it makes a good bevel on such thick leather, but you can't use it on like 3 or 5 ounce even. It's just too crazy. So I'm going to do all 4 corners, I believe I said that, and then I'm also going to do the backs. You will see that. And this will make the tray ends, or the tray corners, able to be burnished nice and smooth and fancy. And the other cool thing is when you hand dye and you edge like that, and you actually get a little bit of the natural color peeking through on the corners. Yeah, baby. Alright, yeah, so here we are doing the back. And then I'm opening the tokenol off screen, off camera. And I'm going to apply that along the side. Everywhere, nice and even. Okay, once I rubbed it in a bit, I went too off camera, so I cut some out. But yeah, we can slick it out, make it all smooth. I like the way the color turned out. It's like an orange brown. It's kind of like a walnutty or chestnutty color. You know, I can kind of just smell the smell of laser burned leather right now in my nose. Not a big fan. Sometimes I go a bit too fast. So after all the burnishing is done, we have nice edges. The tray base looks good. Just checking it out. Admiring it, to be honest. But now we can start working on the folding and the corners. So I took a little break there and got some water. And you know what we're gonna do with the water. Well, first I go a bit extreme here, and I just dip the corner in there. And that was unnecessary. I also put too much water on the top here. That took a while to dry. But I did make it so that I could bend that thick leather, because this required quite a bit of muscling. The squeezing strength test. But we're going to be putting Chicago screws through those sides. So I'm just checking where I need to do it for the best results. And after figuring out where the bend's gonna really be, I'm gonna go all the way around and wet the bend zone. The bend zone is gonna be all around the four sides, about 2 inches from the actual side. So that's the area that I need to get most wet. Now I'll just use my fingers. Makes a bit of a droplet mess next to the piece, but you know, it's fine. What? Am I gonna get a drop of water on it? No big deal. It's actually nighttime pretty much at this point in the video, which is why the lighting is mostly coming from the lamp on my desk. And I thought I could finish this, but you'll see that the next video clip comes from the next day. Anyway, we got it all wet now. I'm just gonna make sure the corners are nice and wet, because they are the places that will receive the most bending force requirements. There's also a puddle of water on my desk, which I will use. You will see I will use it to my advantage. Anyway, so we're gonna begin bending the corners actually now. Trying to get them to touch. This required quite a bit of force from my hands. So skip ahead here. And I also found that putting a little bit of water on the tips there, and it ran down into the corner a little bit, helped a bit. So, and now what I'm gonna do is set up where the Chicago screws are gonna go, and what I ended up figuring out worked based on visualization was 4 centimeters from that edge and 1 centimeter from the side. So I'm using my biggest punch size, and I'm punching them holes in those locations. And I'm measuring each one the same way, because that will help make sure the corners end up squared off as best as I can get them without going crazy. Oh, and do not worry about the water that is in the corners in the folding zone. That will all dry up, and it will dry up pretty nicely. So here we are, next day. These are the Chicago screws I'm going to be using. They're the same ones that we put on most of our belts. They're from Savmore or Savemore leather, and they are nice quality. Nice quality. My screwdriver there, it's stored in a lunchbox. That was that noise. And it's a pretty cool one. It's a ratchet screwdriver. But anyway, I skipped ahead here to where I'm actually putting it in there because I was just messing around with which way the screw head should face, because one side is like a flat dome and the other one is just a screw head, and it's a flat head. But yeah, so I skipped ahead to save a little time. So I'm screwing them all the way tight until the leather pretty much touches each other as planned. So that looks good. And then just gotta do the other sides. And funny enough, I don't know what's up with this, but my biggest punch size is on my rotary punch is like just barely big enough for these to fit through, and through this thick leather it's pretty hard to push it through, so I struggled a bit with that. And my bigger punch is too big, just too big. So anyway, getting all four of these nice and tight, and after we tighten them all, then we will finalize the shape of the bends. Oh yeah, you can also see above the tray, there's a really cool engraving plaque set that I did, and there's a video coming out on that soon. It's gonna be the next one, and that was all filmed on my phone, but the laser job was pretty cool. It's like a Coast Guard emblem, yeah, and with custom text and riveted onto a bag, pretty sick. Okay, so just tightening up that last screw here, and we can see that there's a little bit of a boat form on the bag here, and we'll fix that to try and make it all straight.
Hello. How do we feel about dogs inside or no?
They're fine. Welcome.
Good morning. He's a Sutton, so he won't pee on anything. Hello. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good. I came in once before and I saw the artist.
Had to mute the video here for personal informations.
people.
So, you can see here we're finishing up that shape.
Valet tray.
A tray. Yeah, it's a people
Yeah.
tray. I don't know about Valet. I guess so.
You can hear the discussion. The name of the item, it's debatable. Anyway, but there, we bent the shape a bit better, and I'm just gonna give it some more water treatment here to get it where we really want it.
Oh, yeah, depends.
There we go. That's how it turned out, pretty much. It was still wet while I was filming this part here, but the base ended up drying nice and flat, and the corners are kind of what they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you go ahead and try and make your own leather tray. It's a good time, and they end up pretty beautiful, and they're pretty simple in terms of the concept. Alright, well, hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe. Comment anything you want to see us make. See you in the next one. Bye bye.